Okay, so I guess welcome to the Tuesday, June 27th meeting of the Infrastructure Committee meeting. I guess someone needs to make a motion to approve the minutes for April 2023.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Okay. I don't see anybody from the public.
Jim, do you have any comments?
Oh, just Mr. Chair.
Let's try it. Jim, we can't hear you. You're on mute. If you're talking. Jim, can you hear us?
Hey, hello? You talking to me?
Yeah, we were just wondering if you had any public comments.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just the second jumped into the meeting. So no, I do not have public comments, just listening.
Okay.
Okay, so no public comment. Moving on, the first item for discussion is the Norberth Park key fob installation. So can we get some background on that?
Yes, I will speak to that. That quote that's in there is to put the key fob access on the field house building, just for the bathrooms, so we can eliminate, who's opening it, who's going to lock it at night. We can time it. We can give access codes to people from the NAA to access when they need to. It will just kind of eliminate a lot of overtime and people coming in at night to shut it down.
And when is that being installed?
Just wanted to put the number in front now. Now that sports are basically done for the year, that would be a 2024 install, I think. It will just make the most sense.
But what year is it budgeted for?
I'd like to get it in for 24.
Yeah.
So for that, we're gonna make a budget proposal for next year.
Can I ask a question about it?
Of course.
Thanks. So you said initially that you could time it with access codes?
Mm-hmm.
I understand the access codes part, we can issue, is it fobs or codes?
So
It doesn't matter. It's just that's not important, whether it's fobs or codes, it's something.
Mm-hmm.
It's a code?
yeah, so we can get the transponder on the side doors that could have a code access.
Okay.
And the key fobs would work there as well.
Okay, so it would be a fob or a code, we can issue them to trusted organizations like the NAA or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
But you said something about time it. Do you mean that there will be, in other words, will there be hours when it is unlocked and open to the public?
Yes.
Okay, that was my concern. I wanted to make sure that you wouldn't always need a code. So
No.
you can do that remotely,
Mm-hmm.
right, and change it as needed depending on the season? Okay, great.
Can you also speak to there's a note in here that there's a need for high-speed internet at the building?
Yeah, so we have to get a quote out there to put to get internet out there. If not, we would have to walk out there each time we need to adjust the timer or issue a code for somebody. So that would just enable the office admin staff to control it from the office.
So we would just want to follow up with WatchKey to get a quote then?
But sometimes these kind of systems, because it's not like a high volume of data, can work off a cell signal.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be less expensive than running the wire, or I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm going to get some pricing, whether we just get an internet service out there, or we trench a cable over.
The only time that would be needed is when we were changing the times, say, like if say you had it set up for 8 to 4 and then it wasn't working, you had to change the times or add a new access.
Yes.
It seems like that's a rare enough thing that maybe it wouldn't
You just
Yeah.
walk over with a laptop, basically,
Yeah.
phone and plug in.
I'm just wondering if it would be necessary to have internet access for what might be
Well, you're gonna get a breakout cost for that.
dozen
Yeah.
times a year or something like that.
Yeah.
Another option, I'm just trying to gauge the distance, I wonder if it's a possibility to do like a amplifier that would reach out there.
We can certainly ask our IT provider, what they think, would be powerful enough to reach from there to here. It's certainly worth a phone call to ask.
Okay, so we'll get that, as part of.
Yeah, I want this to be included in the budget, and we'll figure out the internet issue that we need to have any work done, that'll be in the budget as well.
Right, but just break that out separately so that.
Yeah.
This is where we do that. Okay, the school zone signs.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well people were able to read the permits on there, but I wrote the years on there. The one signs have been in since 1968, and the actual pieces that mount the signs to the poles are rotting, they're broken. The timers are archaic at this point, so we would love if we could just upgrade that entire, new pole, new lighting, new timer for them.
So the question came up from me, and then also I mentioned it to Fred, because the amounts were so high, is like, can't the school district pay for some or all of this?
I have emails out to, the schools and school district, but, from my experience, it's generally falls within the town that they're in to take care of them.
Are there also, I don't know if it's too late, but there's grants available, like Safe Routes to School grants.
And so I was more so, again, just putting this out, that's something that we would like to do in 2024. We haven't researched anything yet. I know there are options out there, to apply for some funding for it.
Eric, are you aware of any grants for?
It's probably the Safer Routes to School is probably the one that pops up in mind.
I mean, we got a Safe Routes to School grant in North Wales to like install sidewalks. Not so much like any of the school signals, just like installing like sidewalks, that way the children have a safe way to get to school.
There's the other programs that are out there, like the Multimodal Transportation Fund, that is for signal improvements. Usually that's
Maybe the county transportation grant program grant?
that might be a good one. That's what we used. That was the bump outs, the stormwater bump outs, just that one. But that's right, Montgomery County. That's probably a good one to consider.
Yeah,
And the cost of that one is much closer in line with like what this was. That's like up to $100,000 type of funding. That county transportation fund, which is the $5 under registration for your vehicles.
Yeah, so maybe that's something that could be explored in terms of the grant funding and whether the school might be able to support.
Finance and administration sort of keeping a current, starting to build a grant schedule and that kind of thing. You're
I'm
on,
not in,
oh, I thought you were on FNA. Well, we should,
I sort of.
yeah, well, we should just make sure that FNA has this, communicate this as potential grant fundable project.
Okay. Okay, the library vestibule.
Sure, so this was added last minute. We had budgeted about $8,700 to replace the doorway at the library. And the library is going to move forward with that project, but upon further inspection of like the whole vestibule area, they're saying, well, why would we replace the door if we feel that the vestibule has to be replaced now? And Jeff had actually been out there with the library director and met with their staff. So they're wanting to now replace the vestibule. We didn't budget for that this year. It wasn't part of the building loan. So we would have to come up with some kind of game plan on how to address that.
Yeah, I would, it's nothing that we need to do tomorrow or in a month from now. It just needs to be on our future plans. You know, there are some areas up there of lumber that's very soft that, you know, you could really just poke your finger through, and in just seeing, you know, the general condition of it, you know, I think it would just be wise to rebuild. You know, we can use some of the old trim and stuff, you know, so it keeps the same appearance wise, but just to build it with more appropriate, you know, outdoor type of wood and lumber.
Is it just the spot fix for where the wood is soft, or is it the entire vestibule?
It's the top, the side, I'm sure it's down on the bottom too. I'm trying not to poke holes in it everywhere.
So the question then becomes, is she right that we shouldn't do the doors now?
If we do the doors now, you know, we can just, you know, if we rebuild the vestibule, you know, those doors can be taken off and repart, you know, it's nothing that if we do the doors, you know, we physically cannot reuse them, you know.
Okay. What's the functional purpose of doing the doors now? Is it because they're rotting or so we can
For
have
ADA
security?
compliance?
ADA compliance, okay.
Yeah.
Is the framing around the door like in good condition?
Around the door, yeah. Yeah, so it's mainly the sides of the vestibule where it meets the building itself. It's just so shady in there, so we've been trying to trim those trees to get some more, you know, sunlight up there, just in hopes to dry it out.
Well, I just took a look at it, and it's completely wood rotted on the corners. And I saw it's because of the rain spouts, the positioning of it. It's the way it's emptying out from there is just going straight down from that corner. So that probably needs to be redesigned or redone, that rain spout.
In a perfect world, we would redo, you know, the whole spout system, you know, rebuild the soffit, rebuild everything to contain the volume of water that comes off of that roof.
But it doesn't make sense, say, to replace the vestibule without fixing that.
Yeah.
I think that should be one project.
The gutters were included in the building projects, right?
Just a few of the spouts, of the downspouts were,
Okay.
to get them to match, but, you know, the soffit has some holes in it, so I think I'll bring Kev there tomorrow and take a peek and come up with a game plan and, you know, just get some pricing, you know, for potential in 2024.
Now, of course, the library wants it timed with the roof work, which right now we're in the design phase. So Yerkes has their architect working on a set of plans for the structural reinforcement of the roof itself. And they would like to have this work done pretty much, you know, at the same time that work's being done, less disturbance to their operations, which makes sense.
But we don't have the money, and we have to fix the roof. And now it's a bigger project, because we're gonna probably have to fix the downspouts. We could potentially do the doors when we do the roof, just
Yeah.
to avoid that, little conflict.
I mean, do you think the whole vestibule has to be redone, or could we repair the sections that need to be repaired? And, I mean, I don't know.
The only way to really know would be, you know, to just begin taking off some of the paint, you know, so we can see and feel the wood that's in there. And then we can make that assessment once we can see it better.
Okay, but we can follow with Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we'll come back with something?
We will.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it makes sense to think of it as two projects, like doors and roof, and then we budget for and plan for timing vestibule and soffit. Vestibule and entire gutter management system, maybe.
Yeah, I mean-
Figure out how to replace the downspouts and a couple of the gutters, maybe as well.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's weird about that, and I know we didn't think about it, is usually you do the gutters and downspouts along with the roof.
Well, yeah, but.
But we're not really,
This is like a one
but
story.
we're not doing the roof, we're actually doing
You're doing the
the
interior.
interior, so it's not the roof.
No, we do need to replace the roof.
At some point.
Slate. I thought we were.
Are we replacing the roof now as well?
No, I don't
No, they're just doing the beams.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not exterior work, so.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm not as directly involved with the project, but I'm just looking at that vestibule. That type of work can be done without major impact to the library. It's not like the same way you're going in and doing the being on the inside.
Okay, Narberth Park tree maintenance.
So after our walk with our insurance personnel, no tree branch can be within 7 feet of a piece of playground equipment, from slides to the tops to swings. So this is the price to prune everything away from it. Obviously, we would prune a little further than 7 feet, so we could make this an every other year type of trim.
Sorry, I'm not right at that page. Remind me of the cost.
4875, so this will just come out of shade tree budget.
And are they budgeted for this sort of thing?
Yeah, the shady tree budget, includes, trimming and maintenance.
Okay. Okay, so what are you looking for from us? Is this something to the council or?
No, it doesn't have to go to council, but for small projects like this, we at least wanted a consensus from infrastructure on it.
Works for me. Okay,
Do you typically, procedurally, I'm not sure, as the committee, do you vote on items like this?
I don't think we would vote just because, we don't really have to, it's budgeted already, so. It's
Okay.
just, like if we had violent objections to it or had suggestions for how to do it for half the price or something,
I just had it listed under action items, that's
Okay,
why.
well, we've taken action.
Okay.
The ADA ramp for Borough Hall.
So that includes, walking down this sidewalk here, right where it ends, and people are forced to turn right around the building and then drop down right next to where the cop cars are parked. I tried to draw it out as best I could to extend the sidewalk out and create a ramp there. Which that will serve two purposes. It'll cause people not to trip off of the curb, which I see quite frequently, and it'll also extend that curbing down, so it'll choke the speed down of cars that turn into this parking lot here. Because I've seen a lot of people almost get clipped with how quickly vehicles turn in here. So then with the addition of that, we would remove the depression out front of our side shop door here along the sidewalk, so we would gain an additional parking spot or two out front of here while having an approved ADA ramp out front.
And is this also for 2024?
This was in the KCBA report, the money that was borrowed.
Okay, so this is, cost.
Do you ever wonder why Google, I'm not sure why,
I've submitted a ticket for that before.
Oh,
yeah.
it cuts off, right?
No, look
It's in a
at the
different
name of
language.
Haverford Avenue
Oh,
on Google
oh,
Maps.
how weird.
It's been like that for years. I've even submitted like a ticket to them, like, what is
Is
this?
it just Haverford Avenue?
It's just Haverford
Oh,
Avenue.
that's funny. I've noticed that for
Yeah.
years too.
It's just that road.
I was just trying to show you on Google
Yeah,
Earth,
I
because
know.
it's easier
Why are
to,
you doing this? Thank you.
so if you're looking at here at the corner, people don't typically when they're walking realize that there's a drop off here. I see it all the time. People like awkwardly step down. Right now there's a ramp over here, so we just think it makes a lot of sense, and KCBA or whatever agreed that there should be a ramp here and then raise the curb here so people don't cut the corner so fast, like turning in.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
So-
the sidewalk is extended a bit, and then there's a.
And then there's a ramp with a detectable warning plate. Yeah.
So was there an amount in the KCBA report?
8,000,
So we're under that number.
yes.
And just out of curiosity, do we normally bid these out, or if it's below a certain amount, we don't?
If it's under it, then typically I don't.
And what,
Like
10,000 is the number or something?
It's like
rough number.
11.5.
I think it's going up, they go up a little bit every year. I think it's like 11,005, and under is just, you can just do it. Up to 22 or 23,000, you need 3 price quotes. Over 22,000, you need, it's a full bid.
Yeah, if it's below 12,200, you don't need,
Is it up to 12?
22.
Yeah, 12,000.
if it's below 12.2, it doesn't require formal bidding or quotes, but if it's between 12.2 and 22.5, you need 3 written or telephonic quotes. If it's above 22.5, then you need to go through the formal bidding process.
Okay, well, I mean, given that it's under the KCBA estimate, it seems. Okay.
Can I just ask a question about the, so we're also removing that existing ADA ramp on this side? And I think I understand, but can you just explain the
It was
reason?
mid-block, I guess, right?
Right,
That one's not really the ADA ramp, right? You're talking about the one,
The one right
Right
by
here.
the Chief's car.
it's just a random depressed curve here
Yeah,
inside.
Yeah, it's like right here.
Maybe it
Inside
used to
the
be
building.
access to another building that was there or something?
If you change the date of it.
well, I think the
you may be
wheelchair
able to
ramp
find
goes
it.
down, and it's right by the wheelchair ramp, or?
Not even, it's just a,
It's the
yeah.
latest date.
There's no,
Click on the Seymour dates, and that should be across the
It's
bottom.
behind that
Yeah,
black.
2019
Yeah,
and
I know what it
2018.
is.
Yeah,
We've now marked it for,
Oh, yeah, right here.
yeah.
yeah. No one's really sure what that is, but it's been there for a long time.
Maybe it was for loading and for here.
But see, there was a different building there before, right?
I can imagine it.
So that's being removed then?
So, all right, wait, so now the ramp is going to extend all the way down to the corner? Am I understanding that right?
From the edge
No,
of the
no, the
building.
ramp is going to stay the same, right? You're just going to add another ramp.
Yeah, so the ramp will be right there,
Maybe about here.
and then right to the left of the parking lot, those first 2 spots in the parking lot are handicapped parking.
Right.
So it would just be a simple,
But we're not removing the existing ramp. Like, I thought you just said. we are.
Oh, no.
No, the existing
ramp.
The little curve.
Oh, the curb cut.
There's an apron over here that's
Sorry.
being removed.
No, now I understand, okay, because
If
that
that-
doesn't make sense.
That gets removed,
And you don't
that
want
gets
them going
bottomed
down the
out,
street.
and that's.
Yeah, no, well, that's fine, as long as we
That's
have,
what
as
you'd
long
have
as
to
we
do
have,
right now.
we're gonna have a better access, safer access.
But that's what you'd have to do right now, is walk out in the street, because of the curve. Okay, we're good with this?
I guess, I just wanna bring it, I wonder if we do need to remove it? Is there a specific reason for removing it?
in my eyes, it's just putting in an additional parking spot out front there. If we're going to extend the sidewalk down, and we can squeeze in one more parking spot out front there, and
Mm-hmm.
the handicapped access would be right there in the parking lot.
But I mean, I see another reason, which is, you don't really want someone taking a wheelchair mid-block. Where are they gonna
I
go?
would
I
from
guess
there?
I'm just thinking about when there's Borough Hall events and people park on either side of the street there. And if there's somebody on a wheelchair that's parking across the street, maybe they would like to have that wheelchair access. I'm not sure. I mean,
They should go to the other one, which is,
yeah, you'd have to go all the way around, which there's no sidewalk on the other side of the street, so I'm just thinking.
I would say if you are a person that's needing a handicap space, we have, in the actual parking lot is where the handicap
This-
parking spaces are, on both sides of the aisle there. That depression, it must have been some past use of that area. That's not really a handicap ramp, it's just like a depressed curb ramp.
I was thinking for loading.
It must have been some loading at some point, but if you guys, if that's your public works and your police station and you're not using it for loading,
Is that, I mean, how is that gonna work with the tree there? I'm just like, I mean, it doesn't, I'm sure you've got this all worked out, I didn't look at the drawings, but, like, that's wide enough to really. Okay.
basically just taking this right here, this curve, the same sidewalk width, this sidewalk just goes to here. So instead of this being depressed, this just, that will actually impact the tree at all, they're staying right within the same
Yeah, I
sidewalk.
mean, but it is wide enough to be an ADA compliant, right? That's what I was wondering, because it's probably gonna be 3
Yeah, if it's
4
4 foot wide, then it's fine.
feet. Okay,
I mean, it may not be strict according to PennDOT's 408 standards, but we're not using
I
liquid.
mean, it's pretty flat, there's no reason why that can't be a compliant slope.
Yeah, I mean, and also, the only time you have to make sure you're in compliance with PennDOT standards is if you're using liquid fuels money for it.
Right.
So like when we do our big paving projects, that's like when PennDOT has to come out and inspect them. But,
I just thought ADA
Yeah.
ramps had to be like 6 feet wide or something, but I probably remember it wrong.
yeah, I think we're okay though, right?
I think, it's an existing sidewalk, you're improving the pedestrian connection.
Anyway,
Right.
just wondering if it was ADA compliant. It's definitely an improvement, no doubt about that.
Check. Plan, see if I can answer your question.
Okay, the welcome to Norwood sign.
So we are proposing to copy that sign, exactly how it is, no touch-ups or anything, waiting on a proof. We replaced the sign over at the Candy Cane Playground, so that would be the same type of sign that we would use out there. I believe the quote was just shy of $900 for it. So we will just wait on a proof from it for council to approve, and I would like to replace that sign because it is starting to peel and flake and just kind of look a little unsightly as, our first image of the borough.
Can I'm gonna break protocol a little bit here and ask Jim to comment since he's the one who brought this up like a year and a half ago.
Well, I don't have any additional comment. I think that would be my preference. Am I coming through?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, when I was on the Civic Association, we had some discussions about partnering with Samantha to see if we could replace that sign. And our idea was to copy the sign as it is now to sort of reproduce the brushwork of it was a sign made in the 50s or 60s, I think, by Al Gebhardt, who was a resident back then, painted a number of other signs in town. So it has some kind of historic significance, or I mean, not historic significance, but as a root in the community, significant root in the community. So reproducing the sign as it looks now, I personally think would be a nice gesture.
And do you think there's anybody else we need to show this to, or is it not, or not really? Jim? Oh, can't hear you.
Sorry. Well, I don't know what timeline you have in mind for this, but I had been talking to Dennis Montagna, and I'd also been talking to Al Gebhardt Jr., who is presently a 4th grade teacher at Belmont Hills. And we had the idea to have a little, maybe just not a historic program, but maybe a little info session about the background of this sign and maybe some other signs in town. And just to make people appreciate what it is a little more, people who have moved in the last 40 years and might not be aware of exactly where this sign came from. So I'm no longer on the Civic Association, but I would be glad to sort of continue to participate in that if there could be some event, even a Zoom event.
Okay.
I would.
Got it, but that's like a post. That's after we do it. I'm just asking if it would be like. I hate to do these things and turn a positive activity into a negative one, as happens so often.
Yeah.
So the question is would it be a good idea just to show this proof to Dennis?
The proof to be an exact replica,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if we were redesigning it, I think it would make more sense to get feedback, but because we're replacing it as is,
Yeah,
I don't really see how the benefit.
okay.
Yeah, I don't particularly think anyone needs to sign off on it. I mean,
Just being careful. Okay, great. So we'll wait and see the proof and then, council will approve it. And, certainly kind of amount that we can afford without too much trouble. Okay. The bridge update.
Yeah, so in the packet, I included the most recent set of minutes from our bi-weekly meetings, also the updated schedule. Right now, we're just coordinating final design supplement with PICO and PennDOT for the alternate design. PICO has said that they will pay for the portion for the redesign that we had to put out for it, and will reimburse during construction for that. And also to update, Jen Regal, who's with Benoni, has actually resigned. She's now working for Amtrak. So we now have a new assigned engineer who's,
Well, it's Jim Markham, who was,
yeah, Jim,
currently was already.
but Jesse is now,
Bromley.
yes. And Jesse apparently had been working closely with Jen on this project. So he's well versed in where we're at, and he's continuing on carrying the torch.
Correct.
Yeah.
But where do we stand on, like, do we have a new date for when it's going to go out to bid?
So the schedule has like the updates. It's supposed to go out next June or July 2024. Yeah, it's going to be next summer.
Will it go out to bid or that's what I'm asking?
Go out to bid. I think go out to bid in June with notice to proceed in July. I mean, we knew this, I think at the May meeting we had talked about, so now it would be next year.
I think they mentioned something, I believe 9 months was the time period referenced, although I assumed that was not going to pan out either. It's just, crazy making, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, this has been like a 10-year process.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants to hear why. People just like laugh. If
Right.
you try to explain it, they just go, you're incompetent, that's the end of the story.
But what about that Amtrak money that we had to get the budget or something? I guess that's now pushed out too.
The money for,
Well, we were trying to get in their budget for September or something.
I don't know about that, but I know that we have to budget, or we have to have Amtrak's traffic crews, so during the construction, they have to have like crews on site to help coordinate like with the trains,
Yeah.
which is gonna be expensive,
Yeah.
obviously.
No, but then we were trying to get like into their budget request for this year.
You're talking about PICO, I'm sorry?
No, Amtrak.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you. Okay.
I would say if you have any questions, email them to me and I can follow up with Jesse and Jim from Benoni.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have to look at the detailed schedule again, but,
But I was concerned that we bump into an engine because we don't have a budget for managing the project this year. Is that what you were talking about?
yeah. Okay. Sidewalk inspection update.
We had the approved forms, which were ordered. They're expected to be delivered next Wednesday or Thursday. And then we'll put out an email blast that we're going to begin the curb and sidewalk inspection, so hopefully we can begin by August.
Okay, and other project status from the borough engineer?
Yeah, I'll just kind of give you, this is the first time I see it actually, put my engineer's report, it's found its way into the infrastructure committee meeting, so I guess it's a good addition. So I guess as far as like the land development projects that kind of have infrastructure, 650 Montgomery is moving along. That's going to, we're going to have pedestrian interruptions around there for a while, but the good news, they're moving along quite swiftly, so Who knows, maybe it'll be done before we're done on Haverford Avenue, we'll find out, but, so that's moving along. 100 Forest and 203 Haverford, they are gonna be progressing the next month or two towards the sidewalk work, out front there, to get to replace the full sidewalk and do the tie-in, so, there will be pedestrian interruptions downtown for a little bit when that's going on, but it's a major step forward towards finishing that project.
I assume people are going to lose the free 15-minute parking spaces when this is, right?
Which ones were, that's the,
Well, don't we have free 15-minute parking spaces now in front of the corner at Forest and Haverford? Yes, we do. Right, because we put these short-term, when we closed the, yeah, I mean, the signs, I assume that will probably happen concurrently with the sidewalk work, maybe. Yeah, there are, okay, so where the gas station used to be, when we closed the car like ingress and egress, the borough put up like free, like 15-minute, like free parking spots there.
I mean, I'd say at your discretion, you can still maintain those spaces out front.
Okay, so,
The end result of that project will fill in all the frontages with parallel parking.
do they not need that parking for their project?
No, all the parking that's added along the frontage is just more street parking.
Okay, so we.
Yeah, no, there's no allocation.
Do we have the meters to put in there, or we're just going to
Right.
park mobile there?
Like, right, we will need to make a decision about whether we want to keep that or meter once the conditions change.
I didn't even know there was 15-minute parking there.
There's like, what, 2 or 3 spots?
But the other question is, like, do we have the meters for the spaces that will, like, be back in service?
Right.
If not,
Almost.
do we have them?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we have 3,
So,
so we could meter it, or,
yeah, because you'll be gaining, there'll be spaces that are added in front of the 100 Forest Hill gas station, but then the largest gain of spaces is on Essex, along what used to be the pulling parking to the hardware store.
Right.
There's gonna be several meter spaces added
Do we have
there.
enough meters for all the new potentially metered spaces that we're adding? No, we probably should give some thought to.
We want to get away from the meters, don't we? We want to use Park Mobile for
That's what I'm
everything.
wondering, do we need meters?
Well, if we don't have them, we're not gonna buy them, so probably.
Yeah, because I don't even think we can find them anymore. They're harder
Okay.
to replace.
yeah, ours, there's no parts available for them.
You don't even see them downtown anymore. They don't have them at all.
They're gonna do everyone's going to the kiosk and parking with them.
Okay, well, we'll have to take that to, the parking committee, I guess, right? Or no, is that not really?
Does the
They're not
parking
actually
spaces-
meeting
they were
anymore.
ad hoc.
Okay, well, then it's
Yeah.
the public, no, it's gonna be public safety.
We'll figure it out later.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
At some point, the things are gonna change and we decide.
We have a little bit of time before they're gonna be done work, but that's
Yeah.
something to consider now.
Okay, well, I can do it in
How
my
they would do it.
Okay, I got it.
And it's kind of the same scenario as when 114 Forest, the apartment building was completed.
Yeah,
They were done, and then Public Works came in and just reestablished the metered parking in front of there. So that should be an internal process. You can just figure out whatever the best way to go forward.
I have a question about the 650 Montgomery.
Yes.
Alan, I think I talked to you about possibly widening that a little bit to allow for bicycle access to Ready.
I had asked Kevin about that. He said he would follow up with them. It's still the same.
Actually, I haven't checked recently.
He was saying, I think, that they couldn't move the fence because they had already stacked materials and stuff like up to the fence line. So I'm saying it would be quite a lot of work for them to like reestablish the fence line to accommodate for like cyclists to go through the parking lot there.
Okay.
But I can get an
I'll take-
affirmative answer from Kevin. I can follow up with him tomorrow and let you know.
Is that the exit lane? out on the
Yeah.
main
Yeah,
house?
so it's just narrow enough for like one car to pass, and it's really
Yeah.
tight for,
so you're gonna do it temporarily or permanently?
just temporarily rather than.
Yeah, it's a cattle chute right now to get you around the construction site to keep.
Otherwise,
vehicle
the cyclists would
around.
have to go all the way out into Montgomery on the other side to access Ready. So they.
Oh,
From that-
I see what you're saying.
Have you been out there
I
recently?
was just.
Do you think that they could move the fence? In your opinion?
It is different. I mean, you're basically taking what's a two-way driveway, and it's divided in half. One half is their construction entrance, and the other half is vehicles coming out. But what you're talking to is like a counterflow, like bikes coming in against traffic.
Correct, because otherwise the cyclists would have to go all the way out to Montgomery Avenue to get into Rite Aid, from Narberth, which it's not safe.
If we can't go in.
Well, so they can go.
So right,
against the
so the
direction, it's
vehicle,
very narrow.
the vehicle circulation right now is you have to come in on Montgomery, next to the Rite Aid. You go in the parking lot there and you can come out onto Meeting House. That's the flow of traffic. If you're gonna make it so that cyclists could fit, I mean, I don't know if you just want it wider, then we probably need some kind of notation that like bikes would come opposite to you. Which is probably also what all the signage and everything that go along with that, not just. I mean,
I guess,
someone's probably gonna do
ideally,
it.
yes, but
Yeah.
I mean, I would be happier just.
All right,
writing
we
it.
can, why don't we, I'm gonna write that, we'll check with, we'll see if that fence, if there's any point in the fence, that can be in that location.
How wide is it currently? Is it like 12, 13 feet maybe?
Don't know the exact width. It's half the driveway, so it's probably 12-ish.
I'm sure you probably currently have cyclists and drivers going by one another.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've talked to a couple of people who have kind of, had some close encounters on that path.
We'll see what we can do. I mean, it's tight. They're maintaining the vehicle access through there. And it's not just for cars. There's also, I just came through this afternoon, it's the cement trucks and delivery trucks and everybody are going through there. So you can only cattle shoot it so much. Before you have to have like a tractor trailers going up right up against the fence there.
Right.
But and like how far would you have to move the fence then to accommodate for cyclists?
Well, if you want.
If there's like a dump truck going by or whatever at the same
Yeah, you're
time.
talking, it's 12, well,
Move it 3
you want,
feet,
you
4
want
feet?
3 or 4 feet for a bike, then you want 10
I would say
feet for
4
a cattle
feet.
lane, so you're talking 14 feet, then you're restricting out their entrance.
Well, why don't we
I
get an
can-
answer?
yeah.
We're not gonna solve it here.
Okay.
Say worst case scenario, they say no, we can't really push back on that. I mean, or can we?
We can, we'll see if that can be accommodating, but, there's only so much room to work in there, but we regularly talk with them, so we'll see what we can do on that.
Okay.
So as far as the capital projects, we've kind of touched on the HVAC upgrade. We're really just waiting on the last piece of equipment. While we were sitting here, I actually just tried a different route to talk to Carrier to see if we can get some update on that piece of equipment. As far as other projects that are ongoing, we have that Woodside storm sewer improvements, which is that grant funded storm sewer installation. We're now in a position, I know Alan emailed to ask the council if they'd like to proceed to going out to bid next month for that project.
So that'll go to council on July 20th.
I believe our intention in July would be for you guys to authorize for the receipt of bids. So we can start the bidding process on that. And then we also are working on a Haverford Avenue sanitary sewer repair, which I believe is already budgeted for Jeff, but it's repair to a sewer up near Iona. It's a sunken section of pipe that just is a perpetual maintenance issue. So we're looking to repair that. And then the Elmwood Avenue culvert, it's kind of an ongoing process that is in the process of being surveyed to make the needed repairs along that channel. That is my updates.
Okay. Any, anything from the two committee members? Want to bring up?
For this,
In general?
oh, no.
No, Michelle, you're good?
Further.
Okay, anything from the interim borough manager?
All good?
No, we're all good otherwise?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
And move to adjourn? Second?
All in favor? Okay. Oh, good.
really trying to establish Narberth as a bike route, so I think through the policy, we really have a chance to do that, and working in tandem with other efforts that we're doing with the Mayfair Greenway and having that run through Narberth, I think we have the opportunity, and the cost I feel like is very low in reality. Just especially talking about the way the bike parking is working in those long-term in the garages. We can fit a lot of bikes in the space of one car. So it's such a low cost in terms of space, construction costs, and it's an easy way to really attract a certain demographic to Narberth that prefers to bike, walk, and use transit, and own less cars. So I would think that if we go back to something like Philadelphia's code with what was it again? 1 for 3. It would be such a huge backward step from what the Planning Commission had put forward.
I would say while it would attract a certain demographic, it would be a detriment to other demographics, like the elderly who don't bike, or people who aren't the disabled, or people who aren't able to bike. So it's a swap.
I would argue the opposite, that I feel like the more bike spaces you create, you're probably replacing the detrimental effects of cars in terms of parking demand, congestion, road safety, all of those things. So, I don't know.
Let me give everybody a chance to speak to this one. So,
you know much more about bikes because you have one that you use all the time. Are these double-decker things? I mean, is anybody going to use the upper level?
I think in the Saldo, it actually says that the majority has to be on ground because access-wise, it is easier. But
I can read the bike rack requirement. So bike racks, this is used for short term, must be securely attached to concrete footings, a concrete sidewalk, or other comparably secure concrete surface. Bike rack shall be securely anchored and secured with tamper-proof nuts. It shall be made to withstand severe weather and permanent exposure to the elements. Shall be inverted U or post and ring style. Bike rack shall be designed to support the bicycle frame in at least 2 places and allow the frame and wheel to be secured with a U-shaped lock.
Yeah, I was referring to the long-term ones. You wouldn't want double-decker for short term.
No.
we're not asking.
Are you done? Can I pick
Yes,
that?
please.
There are bicycle storage lockers that are anticipated or contemplated. Required long-term bicycle parking spaces shall be located no lower than the first cellar level or the first complete parking level below grade and no higher than the first above grade level. Access to long-term parking spaces, bicycle parking spaces shall be by ramp or elevator from the street level, no more than 1 step. If access is provided by an elevator, the interior dimensions shall be a minimum of 80 inches by 54 inches. If they're located in a room has to have walls, fencing from floor to ceiling. It can be designed so that the entire room is visible from the entry door. They have a motion-activated security light. They contain bike racks designed to hold bicycles in vertical or horizontal positions. Such devices shall allow the frame and wheel to lock the U-lock, no security measures. Then there are some dimensions for the actual storage lockers. Let me just go to the definition section, just so we understand. And again, part of this, as Mr. Bresci pointed out, was just the definition of what a bicycle rack is. And if council wants to clarify that, that might resolve a lot of the issue. I think the issues of interpretations.
Well, let's get that out of the way because I think we're happy to make that technical fix to the bicycle rack.
So
I don't think there's any, so we will.
So right now it's a bicycle rack is a device consistent with industry standards that is capable of supporting a bicycle in a stable position and permits the securing of the bicycle frame and one wheel with a U-shaped lock. So certainly you can change that to say capable of supporting a bicycle or multiple bicycles in a stable position.
Sure, so we'll change that.
That would make it easier. A bike locker is a lockable enclosure consistent with industry standards that can hold one bicycle. It's made of durable material, is designed to fully protect the bicycle against the weather, provides secure protection from theft, and opens sufficiently to allow bicyclists easy access.
One or more bicycles for bicycle locker?
One per locker, but again, I'm not sure.
Are we gonna,
It has to be multiple.
we need to
It has
change
be
that as well?
multiple.
Yeah, but in that case, you'd want one per locker.
For the security
You
purposes.
could have multiple lockers next to each other, but you wouldn't.
Okay, so we'll leave that as
Access
a,
to everybody else's.
all right, anybody else who hasn't spoken?
So I'm going to add an amendment to the SALDO to change that definition to make it clear that the intention is to allow multiple bicycles on a bike rack.
Okay,
And I'm sorry to clarify then, we think with multiple levels of bikes, because to your point, if you're using a bike as your primary form of transportation, you're going to be well versed in these multiple level bike racks that you see, all over Europe. That's who we're aspiring to be. I do think that one per bedroom in the maximum is a really progressive number. Maybe 1 per 3 units like Philly is too high, perhaps 1 per dwelling is more right-sized for Narberth, kind of a compromise, and then change the language into those multiple dwelling units. And then at the same time, I think we can talk about how do we re-examine bike safety throughout Narberth for the short-term requirements. For example, we're envisioning Station Circle, thinking how are there places, John, perhaps we can ask you, what are some places that would be safe to put bike parking under lights or patrol areas, etc., that we can address some of the short-term bike parking, given the proximity of where this new development would happen downtown anyway.
Was there a suggestion to change the standard for basically right now it's 2 per unit, or, either the higher of 2 per unit or 1 per bedroom, to just make it a flat 1 per unit?
I would say, yes, I would be comfortable.
I wasn't sure if that's,
Yeah,
you said 1 per dwelling, and I wasn't sure.
1 per unit, I'm sorry, 1 per unit. I would be comfortable going 1 per unit, which again, I think 1 per 3 units is not right-sized for Narberth. And changing the language so you can have the multiple rack.
I think we need to clarify that the language related to not having it on multiple levels and accessible doesn't mean you can't have a bike rack on the first level, but have it as a multi-level bike rack.
Yeah.
So you're not going up and down stairs.
No, correct, yeah, the stacking.
So I can provide that unless Expressi has something. I could also make that change easily. Just put some language in there to clarify that and so.
okay.
My suggestion about that particular issue is this isn't a SALDO, right? So it's a pretty easy process to waive the requirement. So I think that it's more important to make sure that the baseline for building a bike rack is solid and sound. And if somebody wants to come in with a multi-level bike rack, and you all are convinced that it's a good solution, you can just waive that provision.
They also allow vertical, I think it also said vertical was allowed.
Well, I think we can also tell the county to take a look at it and, advise us on how to.
Yeah, I think just providing the indication that is contemplated and permitted when someone is putting together a plan and determining how much space they need in the initial plan and not going to be relying on a waiver might be helpful to, if that is your intention, to just clarify that intention.
Okay. Over. No. All right, so I'm hearing that we would like to move higher than the 1 per 3 that Philly has. I heard Cindy's suggestion of 1 per unit, and I think we have the other alternative, which is as it was originally contemplated by the Planning Commission, which is 2 per unit or 1 per bedroom, whichever is higher. Anybody want to say anything at this point on either of the?
I'd be willing to go to just 1 per bedroom.
1 per bedroom? So, okay, so we'll change sort of the higher end one to 1 per bedroom. So either 1 per unit or 1 per bedroom.
It would be, you could just say 1 per bedroom at that point.
Yeah.
Because it's a 1 bedroom unit.
If it's a studio.
Right,
that-
but
if
Cindy's
it's a
proposal
studio,
was 1 per unit. And Change the proposal is 1 per bedroom, so like a 2-bedroom would be 2 units versus 1 unit.
Right,
So we still have 2 different.
but I think as the mayor points out, it might be better because of the studio would not have a bedroom.
That's zero.
Is there
Okay,
zero
then that's
bedrooms?
zero, okay. I mean, I think if you have a 1 bedroom with 1 person lives there, it's not super likely that they're gonna have 2 bicycles, unless they're a real enthusiast.
So it's really the greater of 1 per unit or 1 per bedroom.
Again, if it's a 5-bedroom.
About a minimum of 1 per unit. You know, in case it is a studio. Sorry, speaking out of turn.
We're in the same bedroom, so that's why I'm saying the greater.
We appreciate your interest, Ken, but I think at this point we'll keep it to folks who are.
One per unit or 1 per bedroom. And ideally, you're going to have a bedroom per unit, except potentially with the studio, but again, I think that might still be considered a bedroom. So it might be redundant, but there's no real harm in
Covers all the
that
bases.
redundancy.
Okay. So I think at this point, let's just do a show of hands. So Cindy's proposal is 1 per unit. People who prefer that definition of 1 per unit,
As opposed to what? As opposed to what?
as opposed to 1 per bedroom or 1 per unit, whichever.
Or you could say 1 per bedroom with a minimum of 1 per unit. Or
That's what you said.
that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
1 per bedroom or 1 per unit, whichever
Yeah.
side. That's the other proposal. All right, so
Yes.
going back
That's
to
fine.
1 per unit.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
All right, 1 per bedroom or 1 per unit, whichever's higher.
Right.
Okay, so can we get a show of hands? 1 per unit, people prefer 1 per unit. People prefer 1 per bedroom. Okay, so
Yeah,
we'll,
but provided we're putting in that the new definition.
yeah, we'll try to make it easier on them to create
Right. Yeah,
dense
that's fine.
bike infrastructure.
Yeah.
So
All right,
I have that done. So we're going to change the definition of bike rack, clarify that multiple level bike racks are not contemplated as being opposed, and the greater of 1 per unit or 1 per bedroom.
okay. Any remaining issues for this piece of legislation? John, do you see anything that we still have to address?
Not at this time. Again, I would like to make clear that the Planning Commission hasn't reviewed a number of the fine details of this, and they still do need to do so. But those were the issues that I thought were the most new and needing of discussion.
Okay, Todd, is there anything that you see that,
I don't really, myself, see anything that's sort of a policy issue.
Okay.
I think the planning commission would want to just read it with a really fine eye.
sure. All right, so let's talk a little about the path forward for this. So
So the path forward is this needs to be submitted to both the planning commissions before the 20th, which it will be revised, and I will do a formal submission to Mr. Bresci in that regard, and I will transmit to Mr. Rizzardo to transmit through the system that the county does for their reviews. Assuming that there are no substantive changes recommended that you want to follow. There could be a substantive change proposed, you can say, we don't want to do that. This ordinance would be then in a position for consideration for enactment at your July meeting, which is on the 20th. If there are typos, and I've found a couple already, small word changes that don't really change the substance, we can make those regardless without having to re-advertise. But if there is a substantive change related to the saldo or zoning provisions that we're making, it would need to go back to both the planning commissions again for another 30 days to provide them with an additional review of those changes. So in the perfect world, there wouldn't be any substantive changes from the Norfolk Planning Commission. They may have some cleanups, they may have some text changes that aren't substantive, or maybe it can wait, because I guess I should note that there is another ordinance that will be shortly coming after this that is more of a catch-all zoning cleanup related to the enactment of the SALDO. There are more definitions that Chloe pointed out. There are more aspects that need to be changed. They just were not pertinent to 5A, 5B in the green building. So there would be time to provide any of those changes into that follow-up cleanup ordinance as well. If there was a desire to get this for the July meeting and then make those changes at a second ordinance. And I think the only reason the council might not want to do that is if the planning commission said you don't want to get this in the books as is. But that would be their recommendation. So right now it'll be submitted, it'll be reviewed at planning commission meeting in July, and hopefully it'll be in a position for consideration at your July meeting and to discuss any changes.
For the Act 247 review, MCPC has to get back to us within 30 days of record. So ideally, we'd like to submit it to them like tomorrow, because that's like meetings in 35 days. So yeah, I just want to move on that.
Okay.
Yep.
And I do anticipate that we will get changes. This is a significant piece of legislation. It's been in motion. There's been changes made to it. So I suspect that we are going to see some significant recommendations. All right. All that said, let's vote to advertise the green building 5A and 5B zoning text amendments.
As amended.
As amended. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
So I'll make these changes and circulate a revised version, submit to the planning commission, submit to Scrivato tomorrow, so we have additional time to submit to the county. So it's desirable.
Hopefully I've done that before, so yeah.
Okay. The monthly reports have been filed and are in the packet. Is there any new business or old business? Are there any comments for the good of council? It's exciting to see the farmer's market today. My wife
Sold out.
Yeah, they sold. Well, she came by at like 5:30 and she was like, "Oh, there's nothing here." So yeah, it was already pretty sold out by 5:30.
I was there by 4:45. It was pretty empty.
Yeah, so I think encouraging more vendors might be.
She'll bring more next time.
Okay.
I think it's also just worth underscoring that this was something that the Office of Council helped facilitate, and that Solicitor Walco helped to make sure that the volunteers who coordinated the farm market were protected, that the borough was indemnified, so if something happened, we were all protected. So a lot of coordination and staff time and Solicitor Walco's time went to making sure that this was done correctly with partnership with volunteers.
Okay. And that will continue to be Thursdays, 3 to 7 at Station Circle?
3 to 6.
3 to 6?
Well, 3 to 7.
If you want to get
3 to 7. They're going to bring more next week.
Yeah, they'll bring more.
3 to 7 if they reload. Okay.
Did they open Scoops or that's still?
That is open.
Scoops is also
It's open on the weekends
Yeah.
until school is let out.
So you get some healthy vegetables and then some ice cream and they balance?
Yes.
Is that the logic?
Yeah, veggies and ice cream.
All right.
Not open in the summer?
In the summer? No, it's open in the summer.
Oh, it's open.
It's going to be open for 3 months. It's a 3-month pop-up program.
Yeah.
No, it'll be open every day after
Yeah.
school. I think.
Yeah, it goes well after the Greeks.
All right. Any other comments for the good council?
Just 4th of July is coming up, where all the committee has been working hard. We could use some more volunteers if anybody has time. It doesn't have to be a big commitment, and we can always use contributions because fireworks and festivals cost money.
All right, we will have an executive session after this meeting to discuss the following: a potential matter of litigation regarding 201 Sabine Avenue. Disposition of borough property at 230 Haverford Avenue, potential litigation involving 198 Elmwood, personnel matter related to the hiring of a borough manager. Anything else? I think that's it. And I do not anticipate returning to session after the executive session. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Okay, all those in favor of adjourning? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. All right, and let's go ahead and leave Ken on for the exec session, at least for the first matter. We'll call it the hiring. All right.
We're going in the other room?
No, I
think
use the
we can
restroom.
stay in here.
Okay.
I believe we can stay in here.
Can we take a 2-minute break?
Thank you, John. Yeah, let's take it. Let's take it.
Fred, it doesn't look like recording has been stopped yet.